Hi guys, it's Michelle from My Craft Source. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and if you're new here, welcome for the first time. So have you ever had questions on which vinyl is heat transfer vinyl and which is permanent adhesive vinyl? Well, if you're brand new to the vinyl game, then you might find yourself looking at all your vinyl scraps, trying to figure out which is which. And how do I cut these properly? Well, hopefully in this video, by the time you're done watching it, you'll be an expert at being able to identify which is heat transfer vinyl, which is permanent adhesive vinyl. So I'm going to bring y'all a little closer so you can see all the different types of vinyl scraps I have here from my leftovers bin, and I'm going to go through them and kind of show you some key factors to look for when you're trying to identify which is which. So by the time you're done with this video, we will have identified which vinyl is which and the proper way of cutting it. Okay, so let's identify which vinyl is which. Labels are easy, but not all vinyl comes with a label on it. And when you want to use up some of those old scraps in your project bins, they're not going to have labels on them anymore. So the back of your vinyl is the key when trying to identify which is which. Let me check out this piece here. So this is our silver. Our silver is shiny on the front and matte on the back. Now, how do you tell if this is heat transfer vinyl or if it is permanent adhesive vinyl? Let me grab a piece here for you to see a little closer. So generally a adhesive vinyl will have a grid or a paper label on the back of it. And that's how you'll know that this is a permanent adhesive vinyl versus the heat transfer vinyl, because it doesn't have a carrier sheet on it like the iron-on would. So in this example, you can see the grid pattern, and in this one it doesn't have the grid, but it does have a label printed on the back. On a heat transfer vinyl, you will not have any labels printed. It will be the adhesive of the iron-on vinyl that you'll be seeing. So with a permanent adhesive vinyl, you'll always be pulling away the paper backing to reveal the sticky side of the vinyl, just like you would do on a regular old sticker. So this is a tricky situation here because I have two pieces of vinyl that look exactly the same, right? Well, when you look closer, these are two different vinyls altogether. This is a heat transfer vinyl, and this is a permanent adhesive vinyl. So in this situation, it could be confusing which vinyl is which. Well, the first thing we're going to do when we look at it is do the backing test. So we're going to flip it over and look at the backs of the vinyl. This vinyl has the printing on it, and this one does not. So this is a good indicator that this is a permanent adhesive vinyl. This is our heat transfer vinyl. Although they may look exactly the same, they're definitely two different types of vinyl. So we want to keep in mind that a permanent adhesive vinyl will have a paper backing that generally has a print on it. That can be confusing when you get a piece of vinyl that looks like this. So this is a permanent adhesive vinyl that doesn't have words printed or a grid printed on it. So how do you tell the difference between this? Well, this one still has a paper backing on it. So when you go to peel away your vinyl, you will notice that it is actually a piece of paper, and you can do a little tear test to make sure. See, it's actually a piece of paper that is on the backing of this vinyl. So that is an indicator of it being a permanent adhesive vinyl. So let's go back and talk about heat transfer vinyl again. Let me move all these permanent adhesive vinyls away. Heat transfer vinyl is great for fabric garments. Generally with heat transfer vinyl, you have a shiny side and you have a matte side. What is that shiny side anyways? The shiny side of a heat transfer vinyl is a carrier sheet that gets removed after you've pressed your garment. It's a clear piece of plastic that protects your vinyl and has a sticky adhesive on it to help you apply your vinyl onto your garment without it shifting during the heat transfer process. the matte side of your heat transfer vinyl is actually your vinyl with an adhesive that melts into your fabric when you press it. We have a colored side and a white side. When you have a vinyl that has this, generally the colored side will go down on your mat and you will be making your cuts on the white side of your vinyl because the color is the side that you're going to see on the front of your shirt. So we want to make sure that if you have a piece of vinyl in your scraps, if it has a white backing and a shiny colored front, then when you load it on your cutting mat, put the colored side face down. So here is another example of a piece of vinyl that might be a little harder to tell apart because it's white on both sides. So in that instance, you might wonder which is the correct side to cut on, which is the correct side to put face down on your mat. So here you can see there is a shiny carrier sheet, and then on the back you have a matte finished white side. The shiny side will go down on your mat. The general rule of thumb is always place the shiny side down. If both sides appear to be shiny to you, because this one does have a little bit of a shine on the back, but it's even shinier on the front. And that's an indicator of it having a carrier sheet on it. So in this particular case, you're going to place the shiniest side down on your cutting mat. So this is a tricky instance here because this piece of vinyl is clear. This is an adhesive vinyl that you would use with our foils, but you're going to use it exactly the same way as a regular heat transfer vinyl. So with this vinyl, it does still have a shiny side and a matte side. So even though both sides appear to be shiny, one side is definitely still shinier than the other. And if you still cannot tell that this is the shiny side and this is the matte side, you could always do a little test. The test that I recommend is pulling away a tiny piece of the corner of your vinyl to reveal where the carrier sheet is. So when I pull this back right here on the corner, you can see that this here is the shiny carrier sheet and this is actually the vinyl. So in this case, you're going to make sure that that carrier sheet is touching your cutting mat and the vinyl is what you're cutting on. So let's review. Colored side always down first on your mat. Shiny side down first on your mat. Matte side's always up when cutting on your mat. Now what about holographic vinyl? Sometimes you'll notice that the holographic vinyl has an interesting backing on it as well. Well, this will also follow the rule of color side down first on your mat. And here is a metallic vinyl that we have that has shiny on both sides. But once again, you'll follow that rule of colored side down first on your mat. So let's go back and revisit our printed pattern vinyl. This is the one instance where you do not have a carrier sheet on your vinyl. So which side is the shiny side of this vinyl? The back is. In this situation, you will actually be putting the colored side facing up. So anytime you have this printed pattern, you're going to be actually placing it on your mat color side up. So when you're looking through your vinyl arsenal, just be on the lookout for anything that is a printed pattern because it's not going to follow the same rules as all of our other heat transfer vinyls. Another test you can follow to tell which side you cut on is the curl test. So this particular piece of vinyl has a curl where it wrapped around the vinyl roll. Most of the time, the vinyl will be rolled around the roll with the matte side out. So in this case, the side that you cut on is the matte side. So you will want to put the curl down on your cutting mat for your cuts. After figuring out which side is the side that you cut on, You could always place a mark on the shiny side of your carrier sheet for future reference if you're not going to use the rest of that vinyl and want to throw it in your scrap box again. So I would just take a marker and just put a little line over the shiny side of the sheet, because that carrier sheet's going to be pulled away in the end anyways. So that's a good way just to remind you in the future that, hey, this is the side that goes face first on your mat. These tips and tricks will lead to cutting accuracy, less vinyl waste, and quicker turnaround times for all your crafting projects. If you have any questions, make sure you post them in the comments so I can go back and answer them for you. Thank you guys for following along, and hopefully now you're going to be an expert when it comes to identifying which vinyl is permanent adhesive vinyl and which is heat transfer vinyl. See you guys around.